A quiet, scenic route turned into a deadly trap where 8 lives were claimed in a series of unsolved murders. Could it be the work of a single mind? Or is something more sinister still lurking on Colonial Parkway? Welcome back to Mystery Unveiled. Today, we're unraveling the enigma of the Colonial Parkway Murders, a series of killings that claimed the lives of 8 people along Virginia's Colonial Parkway between 1986 and 1989. Despite the FBI's involvement, dozens of theories, and countless hours of investigation, the case remains unsolved. Could the answer finally be within our reach? Let's dive into the details and see where the evidence takes us. The Colonial Parkway, a serene and scenic route that winds through the heart of Virginia's colonial history, became the backdrop for one of the state's darkest mysteries. The parkway stretches 22 miles, connecting Jamestown, Williamsburg, and Yorktown, 3 key locations in American history. But during the late 1980s, this road became notorious for something far more sinister. Between 1986 and 1989, at least 8 young people were brutally murdered in or near their vehicles along this otherwise peaceful stretch. The first victims, Kathy Thomas and Rebecca Dowski, were found strangled with their throats slashed in Thomas's car, which had been pushed down an embankment near the York River. Their horrific murder set off a chain of events that still haunts investigators today. Kathy Thomas was a 27-year-old former U.S. Naval Academy graduate, and Rebecca Dowski was a 21-year-old student. They were last seen leaving a party together, only to be discovered murdered the next day. Their brutalized bodies were found in Thomas's Honda Civic, just off the Colonial Parkway. This pattern repeated over the next 3 years. David Knobling, a 20-year-old, and Robin Edwards, a 14-year-old, were found dead along the James River in 1987. Keith Call and Cassandra Haley disappeared after a college date in 1988. Their bodies were never found, but their car was abandoned on the parkway. The last known victims, Anna Maria Phelps and Daniel Lauer, were discovered in a wooded area near Interstate 64 in 1989. Each case left little forensic evidence behind, frustrating investigators. How could a killer or killers strike so efficiently, leaving so few clues? Was this the work of a single, highly organized individual, or a group working together? The more we look into the details, the more complex this mystery becomes. Many experts and investigators believe the murders were the work of a single killer. This theory is bolstered by the similarities between the murders. The victims were mostly couples. They were targeted in secluded areas, and their cars were often found abandoned or burned. Additionally, some of the victims' families have speculated that the killer may have had law enforcement or military training, as the bodies were often arranged in precise ritualistic ways. The methodical nature of the killing suggests a highly organized individual who knew how to evade detection. But there's also the theory that multiple killers may have been involved. Some investigators have pointed to the differences between the cases, such as the varied methods of murder, with some victims being strangled and others shot, as evidence that more than one person may be responsible. Could it be that the Colonial Parkway became a hot spot for opportunistic killers, each taking advantage of its isolation? New developments in forensic technology have led investigators to re-examine old evidence in hopes of finally solving the case. In 2010, the FBI announced that it had retested some of the evidence, including hair and fiber samples, using modern DNA analysis. While the results have not been fully disclosed, there is hope that DNA evidence could eventually provide the breakthrough needed to identify the killer or killers responsible for these horrific crimes. Some witnesses have come forward over the years, providing descriptions of suspicious individuals seen near the crime scenes. One report described a man in a dark vehicle who may have been impersonating a law enforcement officer. Could the killer have used a fake badge to lure victims to their deaths? Several experts, including FBI criminal profilers, believe this is a plausible explanation, particularly given that some of the victims' cars were found in positions that suggested they had pulled over voluntarily. However, without concrete evidence to tie any suspects to the crimes, the case remains a mystery. The lack of forensic evidence has been a significant roadblock, leaving even the most seasoned investigators scratching their heads. After diving into the details of this case, I have to say, one name has recently emerged that casts a dark shadow over the Colonial Parkway murders: Alan Wilmer Sr. New evidence points to Wilmer, who had a background that ties him directly to law enforcement and military circles, giving him both the knowledge and access to commit these crimes without leaving obvious clues. Wilmer's behavior during the timeline of the murders was suspicious, and his access to the areas where the victims were found strengthens the argument that he could be the killer. The evidence goes beyond just circumstantial. Wilmer Sr. worked as a security guard and had a Navy background, both roles that would provide the expertise needed to stage the crime scenes and evade detection. It's been suggested that the killer had the kind of tactical precision and knowledge of forensics that someone with Wilmer's background would possess. Additionally, some of the victims appeared to pull over willingly, which could indicate that they trusted the person they encountered, someone who presented themselves as an authority figure. This fits Wilmer's profile perfectly. And if you want to dive deeper into this case, I highly recommend reading the book, A Special Kind of Evil: The Colonial Parkway Serial Killings by Blaine Pardoe and Victoria Hester. This book provides an in-depth look at the investigation and offers new insights into the case. It's a must-read for anyone fascinated by unsolved mysteries. I've included a link in the description where you can grab your copy today. By using this link, you'll also be supporting the channel. So go ahead and click the link and get your copy today, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. The Colonial Parkway murders remain one of the most haunting cold cases in American history. Despite the best efforts of investigators, the identity of the person or people responsible for these brutal killings remains unknown. But with advances in forensic technology and renewed public interest in the case, there's still hope that we might one day find the answers. Until then, the question remains, was this the work of a cunning serial killer who knew how to cover their tracks? Or were these crimes the result of multiple killers, each taking advantage of a secluded Colonial Parkway? The truth may still be out there, waiting to be uncovered. So what do you think? Who was behind these murders? Was it a serial killer with a twisted mind? Or could there be more here at play? I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Maybe one of you will have the insight that cracks the case wide open. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to Mystery Unveiled, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious.